Hump Day Happy Hour for the Dentists in the Know. Yes, we are the Dentists in the Know. This is your backstage pass for current trends, politics, and education in the dental world. It is live, and it is over a delicious little cocktail that I'm enjoying in my DINKs cup. Very nice, isn't it? Won't tell you what I'm drinking. We'll have that discussion in just a little bit. But I am super excited tonight because we are all together again. Yes, Jeff Horowitz, Jennifer Bell, and Chad Duplantis all in the house tonight. And with us is a very, very dear friend from the Academy of General Dentistry, Dr. Merlin Ohmer, who's the current president of the Academy of General Dentistry. And they're getting ready to have their scientific session, which we'll talk about. But basically, all three of us have a love affair with the Academy of General Dentistry. So lots of great stuff to talk about. But as you know, we are here to provide the best information for all of you in the most unpretentious and casual way. We are all dentists, we are all business owners, we're all educators. And you know what our job is? It's to bring all of you in the know. So let me bring up my great friends, Dr. Chad Duplantis and Dr. Jennifer Bell, and how exciting it is to see two other faces on the screen. It's been a while.
Right? All together. The band is back together again.
Why did you reverse
Did Jennifer
that?
just move to the top on yours?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, I didn't think that she needed to be at the bottom. So I just moved to the top. Yeah.
Nobody puts baby in the corner. Nobody puts JB in the corner.
No.
Let's do this.
Oh, Jeff. It must be your internet connection that dropped you.
I got dropped?
No, just at the bottom of the box. That's all. That's all.
I deserve to be at the bottom. It's okay. They've heard enough from me. I've been on too many consecutive weeks, except we were gone last week for the holiday.
I know.
We have an amazing guest from the Academy of General Dentistry. The president of the Academy of General Dentistry has taken time, literally the week before their big scientific session, to come and chat with us, Dr. Merlin Ohmer. But before we bring him on, we've missed your news. Not that Chad didn't make a valiant effort, and he's really upped his game a little. I will say
that.
I
agree. Yeah. He had some transitions. He had, he definitely, he came to play.
But I know.
Did you notice the mic drop?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I know JB. I've served with JB. Chad, you're no JB.
I know that.
Okay.
There's no.
We all have our gifts. Have our gifts, right?
Yeah. All right, JB, why don't you give us some news?
Well, I would love to. It's a little interesting this week. It kind of goes all over the place. So we'll try to lock it in for you to take some notes. One of our dear friends, actually, Chad, it's funny that you referenced David Rice because he's also a part of Ignite DDS, and Tanya Sue, one of our great friends who's been on the show several times and continues to collaborate with us, did a story about this week, but I felt like we should bring it to our news channel as well. For our dear friends in Colorado who practice there, before too long, there is a law that's going to ban PFAs. PFAs are these lifetime chemicals. There are different plastic components that you'll find in a lot of things that we use in our daily lives. They're great for waterproofing and for a lot of outdoor activities. They're also commonly found in dental floss. Well, guess what? In Colorado, after 2025, PFAs, dental floss containing PFAs will no longer be allowed in the state of Colorado. So our dear friends in Colorado who are practicing dentistry and hygiene, which they do allow autonomous practicing for hygiene in Colorado, you better check your products to make sure that your dental floss is either PFA free or that you move to a product that doesn't have it, because you will not be able to access those products into 2025. It will be an interesting transition, and I think it could set a precedence. You know, we watch these states and we watch activity that happens, and many times we'll see, like one of our other stories on dental loss ratio, you'll see one state become the tipping point, and then you'll see a lot of other states catch on. So it's certainly feasible that dental floss manufacturers will be watching this story closely because if they haven't developed a PFA-free option, they might want to go ahead and get their research team trucking along and finding a replacement, because it wouldn't surprise me if more states adopt this policy soon. Another interesting development, the Supreme Court, I don't know if you follow them, but they have been very busy. And I have to say, non-politically, a very bipartisan effort on everyone's part. Many of the votes have been split in different directions. So it's always interesting to see how the courts are working. And at least they are working, which is more than we can say for a lot of our government entities. But why is this important for dentists? Well, there was an interesting ruling that happened last week that overturned or sort of overruled the Chevron rule. Well, what's the Chevron rule and why do I care? The Chevron rule, which was passed back in 1984, allowed the regulatory agencies a tremendous bandwidth to sort of interpret law and be their own experts to defend their interpretation of the law when creating regulations for all industries. So many of the things we do on a daily basis, all the regulatory things that dictate how we practice, all of the posters we have to hold up, all the OSHA requirements, all the HIPAA requirements, all the radiation requirements, if it's not state mandated, fall under the Chevron rule. And I heard a statistic, 18,000 cases since 1984 have gone in favor of regulatory agencies because of the Chevron precedent. What we're hoping from this overturn is maybe a little simmering down of the regulatory agencies, or at least a little bit more thought when they come up with changes that will directly impact dental practices and how they do their operations on a daily basis, and how it impacts the cost of doing business, how they take care of their patients, and how they take care of their team members, and ultimately their mental health and well-being while being dentists in their community. It can be quite overwhelming when you have a myriad of regulatory agencies always coming up with new things for you to take into consideration. And now it's become almost a full-time job in a practice just to keep up with the regulations that are required for dental practices to be compliant from every entity, including the FDA, the EPA, the CDC, OSHA, the list goes on and on. So this Supreme Court decision could be of some benefit to regulations that we're seeing in practice, and at least maybe slowing down their impact on the ground. One of the last stories we'll talk about actually is from one of the regulatory agencies. OSHA put out a rule, goes into effect July 19th of this month, mandating more clarity on the MSDS or SDS sheets now that come out with products. Many of the manufacturers would not disclose a lot of the chemicals that were housed within the products because of proprietary information or patent pendings and all these other things. And they didn't want their secret sauce to be released. OSHA has stepped in and said, that's not good enough. We have to have full disclosure of at least the products that are in. You don't have to tell us the recipe, but you have to tell us what's in there. And I will tell you on a personal perspective, I had a couple patients that were highly allergic profile patients that had a very specific laundry list of things that they were allergic to. And it was actually really difficult to get clarity from the manufacturers if it was safe for me to use some of the composite resins and some of the other things that we were using on patients because of proprietary recipes that were being used for those particular products. So, you know, I just talked about how I want the agencies to slow down, but I can kind of see the validity in this so that we can continue to protect patients and at least get full disclosure on the products to be able to provide that information to patients. One last story, I had to tell it. There was an article that came out recently that was kind of interesting that found that 20% of periodontal residency programs are reusing their healing abutments. And it's kind of created this whole scurry of infection control concerns because there's no actual real data on whether or not when you sterilize a healing abutment, if it's actually clean. And so look for more research to be launching pretty soon on whether or not implant parts and pieces can be reused on patients, like healing abutments, cover screws, scan bodies, etc. And if autoclaving will be sufficient enough to provide effective infection control. The other thing they found was that the infection control protocols varied greatly between the periodontal programs that were reusing those healing abutments. And so maybe just standardization of how we treat reusable parts in implant dentistry may be on the horizon. And with that, that's the news.
So the one thing that really gets me about that is, honestly, that sounds like some sort of lobbying effort, because
now we buy more implant parts.
Why would you not be able to clean and sterilize a part that goes back in temporarily into a patient's mouth? I mean, I get it. An implant, you're not going to want to sterilize it and be like, oh, well, this didn't work in Joe's mouth, we're going to sterilize this sumbitch and put it in Sandy's.
Yeah.
I get that. A healing cap, a cover screw. Come on, people.
I was going to say the same thing. Is pretty much pressure and heat kill everything. I mean, we know we have protocols that we have been using for how many years, where pressure and heat kill all the bugs that we're worried about. They cannot survive in this environment. So why are they going to survive better on titanium in that environment, which conducts heat, by the way? Why are they going to survive better in that environment than they would anywhere else? And oh, by the way, isn't there more of a problem with the patient that picks up his dog poop and then scratches his nose? And I mean, come on, let's just talk about real stuff.
I will say, you can't defend it if there's no data. So that is what needs to happen. These periodontal programs that are reusing them should be doing their own research. And
so we really need to start swabbing implant parts and putting it on a Petri dish. Is that what you're saying?
I have a hip for the past 12 years that was just cold sterilized after it was placed into this dead dude.
What did you just say?
My hip. My left hip that's been replaced. It was replaced from a cadaver. The guy died. They pulled the hip out and put it in cold sterile, and then they placed it. I'm fine.
Yeah. Byrex.
I'm actually now totally in favor of single-use everything. I now changed my mind.
All right.
I'm teasing.
Hey, let's bring our guest on.
Let's bring our guest on, because this is going nowhere fast.
Yeah.
Who would like to introduce our guest?
JB.
Sure.
Would you do so?
I barely know him.
My boy Boudreaux from Thibodaux.
Yes. Well, if I introduce, you're only going to get my version of the story, which I think is actually probably the more correct version of the story. Merlin and I have known each other for a few years, I'd say. When we first came on board for doing national spokesperson training with the AGD, how many years has that been now? 5, 6?
More than that, JB.
Maybe.
I think. Has
You're
to be a
probably
long time.
right now. You're probably right.
I didn't have gray hair back then.
I find that hard to believe, but okay. We'll accept your version of that story. And it kind of became a very quick friendship that has endured many challenges through leadership, as life would be. And Jeff knows the story for sure as well. When you're serving for others, there's really great times, and there's some challenging times for sure as well. But through all of that, I can fairly say that Merlin and I have stayed pretty steadfast friends, confidants at times, and I'm really, really blessed and honored to know him. From a professional standpoint, he's been a general dentist for how many years? Like 122, and active in the military, right, with the Navy. And now is serving in the high capacity of the president of the Academy of General Dentistry. So it is actually my distinct honor to have a good friend on the show, one that I've been in the trenches with on numerous occasions, and I look forward to a few more fights along the way.
Not fights, JB, just discussions.
Debates.
Yeah, debates. There you go.
And debates up until recently have always been healthy. So
up until recently, good point.
I won't
the
fall
American
asleep.
culture doesn't allow for debating anymore.
No.
Merlin, welcome. It's so good to see you again. And tell us, you've got a pretty busy week ahead. Tell us what's happening.
Very busy. Our scientific session kicks off Wednesday, a week from today, in beautiful downtown Minneapolis. And really looking forward to that. We have a lot of great speakers lined up. We have 6 of the courses completely sold out already, which is good. And if you're going to go to Minneapolis, July is the month that you want to go.
I would have to agree.
Is it? I have never been. Tell me what to expect.
Well, hopefully the temperatures will be about 80 during the day, 60 at night.
Nice.
Or it could not be. At least it will not be snowing. It could be 90 up there, but at least it's not snowing. And that's the good thing, right? Because I've been in, when was I there last? I can't remember if it was December or January, but I don't recommend that time of year.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
But, for anybody that is still, that does not have plans, the AGD scientific session is always first class education. I mean, some of the best lecturers out there on the circuit. And there is still some availability for a lot of the courses, right?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of the courses are still open, and registration is still open until Monday. So if we're just thinking about it and weren't sure, there's still time to register. Get up to Minneapolis. I'd be willing to say that between the 2 host hotels, that there'd be rooms available. Downtown Minneapolis has a lot of nice restaurants in it too. There's a British or Irish pub, it seems like, on every corner in the downtown area. So
Have you found good rum?
No. There's one tiki bar in Minneapolis that when I was there a year ago, or was it 2 years? I don't know, a year ago, I went to, and was extremely disappointing. The venue was wonderful. It's on the Mississippi.
Oh, nice.
But and if you follow the reviews online, the place is called Psycho Susie's. And if you follow the reviews online, the drinks are just terrible. So, that's what I found too. So there'll be no
Psycho Susie's. Take this as a PSA to get it together. You've got one job.
I have been to a place in Minneapolis called Juicy Lucy's, and I don't even know
with the rhymes.
Yeah, Juicy Lucy's had some of the best hamburgers, and
burgers.
They put the cheese on the inside of the burger, so when you bite into it, it all just kind of gushes out at you. It's pretty cool stuff. Really good.
Yeah. Juicy Lucy's is there.
I'm going to explain to y'all how this works, okay? Dallas and Minneapolis, or Dallas, Fort Worth, and Minneapolis, St. Paul are both on I-35. I-35 goes north, and it splits right for Dallas and splits left for Fort Worth, and then it convalesces in Denton, and it goes all the way to Minneapolis, St. Paul, splits right for St. Paul, and splits left for Minneapolis. Now, what you need to do is you need to get this thing called an Uber. And if you have an American Express Platinum, you get $15 for free, which would probably get you into St. Paul. Go to the St. Paul Hotel, and you will not be disappointed in the beverages served at that bar. That is one of the best bars I've ever been to in my life.
Oh, wow.
It's worth the drive.
Okay. So, after we got the geography lesson. Yeah.
You need the geography lesson. I'm telling you, because
what kind of drive time are we talking here? Are you talking days, weeks?
The DINKs know bars.
20 minutes. 20 minutes.
We usually find them.
20 minutes.
And close them.
That's it. Yeah. And I would say that St. Paul's the better city, and I apologize to all of my Minneapolis friends. The area is still the same, but I'm going to say St. Paul's the better city. And then down here, the West is better. Fort Worth is way better than Dallas.
Well, and I have to also say that there are just so many great live music venues in Minneapolis. My good friend actually got his doctorate at University of Minnesota, And so I went and visited him several times up there. And every time I went up, most of the time it was in the winter. And by the way, if it turns like 40 degrees, they all like hang out in the parks and stuff when it's 40. But for the rest of the time, when it doesn't get up to that, there's tunnels that connect everything. So even if you're afraid of a little warmth and you want to stay in the air conditioning, there's tunnels that connect everything. But there are so many great live music venues in that area. I wish that I could be there next week. We'll be at a wedding, but this is actually one of the first ones I'm missing. But sadly, hate that I'm missing it because the education's always first class.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It's first class. And that is what the AGD is known for, is the high quality, first class, cutting edge, continuing education. And if
no, go ahead. I'm sorry. More.
No, and if there's members in your audience right now that are listening and haven't registered, look at a way to register, get up to Minneapolis. There's a really big airport there that Delta, I know that's one of the Delta hubs, so you can get up there and come enjoy, get the continuing education. And more than that, it's the fellowship, the collegiality of talking to your fellow dentists, your fellow AGD members, and bonding and getting a feel for each other and getting to know one another better.
Guys, can I tell you a couple things? Guess who the keynote is?
Who?
Jeff Gurian.
Jeff Gurian.
I wonder who got in that gig.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'm looking forward to hanging out with him. He's been on the show. Gigi's teaching Botox courses.
You've been in his kitchen, haven't you?
I have been in his kitchen. Yes, I have. I'm really excited to see him, actually. We're going to catch up.
He's a great guy.
Super
guy.
I'm looking forward to it. Tom Viola.
And I'm getting my master's with my business partner. So
and that was the question that I was going to ask. Merlin, do you know how many fellows you will be awarding this year?
Fellows, masters, LLSR is about 350.
That's great. That's great.
Yep. Yeah,
so my story behind my AGD experience is that that is really where I got to know Jeff Horowitz several years ago. When I received my fellowship, I became very good friends with a gentleman that's watching tonight, Dr. Partha Mukherjee, and Dr. Sarah Morris, who was also there, Dr. Ryan Crane. It was just a great event. I mean, there were people that we might have heard of each other. And like you said, Merlin, it's more than the education. It's about the relationships that you build. And this is going back 7-8 years that I received my fellowship and just made some wonderful connections in fabulous Las Vegas, and almost died of heat exhaustion, but it was a wonderful, wonderful trip. So I encourage everybody to go.
All right, Mr. Prez. What is so far in your year, and we're getting closer to the end of your term.
I'm on the downhill slide.
Why don't you just remind him of that again?
Most
You're about
presidents
to
at
expire,
this point.
Merlin.
Yeah.
I am, for sure.
It gets to be a long year, and he's been doing it coming up on 3 years of, the term.
Right.
What, if you could say, like, what was the thing that you were most surprised by, and maybe what you've most enjoyed that you probably didn't appreciate or didn't see coming, when you agreed to take on that assignment?
So the most enjoyable thing I've experienced this whole time is getting out, especially to the constituents, to the components even, and actually getting to meet the people that make the AGD work on the local level, getting to know them, getting to visit with them, spend time and interact, because it's all about the members. It's a member-driven organization, and the members at the local level is what makes it happen. And I just thoroughly enjoy doing that and getting out to meet people.
I would imagine that really energizes you to go back and, say, this is what they need from us, or, this is what we're doing really well. This is what we could continue to improve. And
it does.
Keeps you very grounded to who we are as an organization.
It does. And I think that's very important because, I'm a member, a lifetime member like so many others. And I just happen to get this, to do this. And I'm happy. I feel very privileged and very honored. But at the end, after November, I'm just going to be a member like everybody else. And I want the organization to continue with new leaders and new ideas to keep it moving forward. So people coming up nowadays can have the experience that I've had and that the three of you have had.
And one of the things that they recently posted on social media was this desire for change, to maybe update the organization, how we operate, and to get the feedback of the general membership so that we can, kind of move ourselves in a forward direction. How do you think that's going? What's your perspective? What are you most excited about as we sort of continue to review governance and its structure and if we're being effective in the way we're leading?
So to jump back 7 years, 6 years, I forget. That's really, besides the spokesperson training, that's where Jen and I kind of bonded on that committee that shall not be named, named GERC. And where we work together. And so we've had, Jen and I have had an extra long journey with governance and trying to get some sort of reform done to move the organization forward. And I think when we hired this company, Tecker International, to help us through that journey, they know ways to move forward that maybe the group of 7, 8 of us did not know and did not appreciate at the time. And I really think they're helping the process move forward. In fact, JB's on one of the committees, the standing committee that reviews what's going on. I tossed you under the bus, right, JB? Good.
Yeah, you did.
And I really think we're going to get a really good product. We're not going to have the final product this year at the House of Delegates, but we're supposed to have the final product in 2025. And I really look forward to seeing that and seeing what happens and how it progresses. Because, I mean, truthfully, if you look at big corporations, they've changed the way they run their business for efficiencies, and we're kind of plodding along under a very old model. And so we kind of need to get to the times to be more efficient and to be able to make a decision that doesn't take a year to come up with the final answer. Under no circumstances, though, will the House of Delegates go away. It may be modified, but we still want the voice of the people to come through.
That's what always made such a difference about this organization to me. The fact that it is a membership run and a membership driven organization, and just how much impact one individual can have, and how many of the problems that get solved even beyond the House of Delegates, when those people are all assembled in an area. And maybe it is the bar after all the CE is over, maybe it's in an assembly, but just that time for dentists to interact with each other and be able to have such a deep impact on policies that mean so much to dentistry. I think that was the thing that, you know, you can't impress that on someone else. They have to experience that individually. The fact that, wow, I can actually make a difference as one person, you know, and I think, you know, as long as that never goes away, just streamlining the process a little bit, the AGD has a very bright future still to me.
I agree with that. And then that's too, at the House of Delegates, that's why we bring newer members, newer delegates on to the reference committees, so they can actually focus on smaller specific issues and make an impact and on how that particular resolution is being presented and in the final form of it.
You know, one of the other things I can say, Jeff, what you were saying, we as dentists get very used to getting our own way, because many of us run our own business. The buck stops with us. We can say, we're going to do it this way on Tuesday. That's the way it's going to be. If you don't like it, go find another job. Like this is how we're going to run the operation. And when they come to the House of Delegates and they stomp their feet and try to say, well, this is the way it should be, and then you realize now you have to negotiate, compromise, discuss with another 199 other votes to determine whether or not the way you think it should be is actually the way it should be, is a phenomenal professional growth opportunity, both from a leadership development perspective, from learning how to converse with those who have differing opinions and try to come up with workable solutions and compromise. Like, some of us haven't had that same level of training when we get to become bosses in our own office, and we can take unconsciously or subconsciously, we take those skills back and we start to lean in on the things that we're developing. So there's so many other intangible growth opportunities that happen, but, you know, in addition to being a part of change and making things better for our fellow clinicians. But we as people are better. You know, we come back a little bit stronger, a little bit more polished, a little bit more adept to running our small businesses a little more effectively. So I think there's so many great things that come from being part of the Academy.
Yeah. And so, yeah, because when I started this year, this governance year in December at the executive committee meeting, that's what I asked. I said, can I just be a dictator for the next 12 months? And they go, no, you're not allowed to do that. So it is
benevolent dictator, benevolent. You always have to use the word. It's out of the goodness of my heart.
So, yeah, but that is, you learn how to talk to other people, interact with others, and get your issues across and friendly debate a topic and to come up with a joint solution. And that's a very valuable, very, very valuable at all levels. So
I agree.
Yeah. And I just have a question for Chad, because going back to the introduction, Chad, you were talking about your vacation on the beach.
Yeah.
And how you brought this the first time you brought the girlfriend along. What did your wife think about that? Bringing your girlfriend along, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd that go down?
How'd that go down?
Okay with it. Yeah.
He had to buy 2 sets of the $250 chairs.
Maybe, you know, that's a good point, Merlin, because for those that are joining us for the first time, let me rephrase that. I've got a 21-year-old son who is in a serious relationship, and that's it. His girlfriend was the girlfriend. My wife was okay with that. Now, if my girlfriend would have come along, not that there is one, that probably would have gone over so well.
I would have started with not that there is one.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to think about how I rephrase that. Yeah, but
thank people tuned out before you ever got there, Chad.
Yeah.
Merlin, you've been stewing on that one for a while. So
I have.
I actually do have a question for you. You know, I think you talked about, and you might have, you know, indirectly answered this, but you talked about, what your favorite part of the job is, what you've really enjoyed. What has been the hardest part of this job as you see, and what do you see as maybe some of the biggest threats to dentistry as we know it these days?
So of this position, the hardest thing is sometimes working with on the board with 20-something other very strong-willed, independent-minded people, trying to get to consensus on things. And I mean, that's the same way with any organization, is you have to work towards consensus. And sometimes there are multiple opposing viewpoints that you have to work through and keep a level head, keep your mind focused on what the outcome should be. And as far as the biggest threat to dentistry is, boy, that's a loaded question.
And you can't say Chad.
Yeah, I can't say
Chad
JB
dentistry.
either. But the end result, what's happening due to the fact that all of our recent graduates are coming out with such a large financial burden, is creating some things that in dentistry that may not be totally great for the profession as we know it. I personally can't imagine coming out of school $500,000 in debt. I can't, and that's probably the average number, or the high average or something. There, some people more, some people less. I cannot fathom that. And then to try to figure out, okay, I may have a family, I may not have a family. If you have a family, well, you have to provide for them. You have to have a house of some sort living. And if you have smaller mouths to feed, well, I think it's just creating a lot of stress and burdens, and might be leading towards less than optimal practice philosophies in the first few years. The first few years is where you're developing your skills, I think. I mean, because I graduated in 1979, and I thought I knew a lot then, and I knew nothing. And you can still look at it as, man, I really still don't know everything that I could. And it's important to be to soak up as much knowledge and as much continuing education as you can. And that's, I think, where the AGD excels, if we can get the newer graduate in and make them feel a part of the organization and get them fed on the continuing education and making themselves better. It will lead to better patient outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. I think that, education is really where you all are very, very strong. You're strong in a lot of ways, but you're very, very strong in education. And I can't stress how much just the simple studying for my fellowship did for my career and really boosted me along. And, look at what Dr. Bell has done, becoming a master. Jeff, are you a master? I apologize.
Nope, I am
Nope.
not.
I mean,
No.
that's a hell of an accomplishment that people don't really quite.
JB has moved to the top of everything in our world.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hell of an accomplishment. And, to set those goals for yourself, they're lofty goals, but I think, start with your fellowship, move toward your master's, really embrace the education that's offered through the AGD. We had a question that came in. It came in via text, but I think this is one of the other wonderful things that's about the AGD. Although it's the Academy of General Dentistry, It is certainly not exclusive to general dentists. And we have an endodontist that's a good friend of ours that his question was, how does one become involved? Because that's something that he wants to become involved in. So how does one become involved with the AGD, and, starting at a local level, what can they do?
So anyone can join. A specialist can join. I've known oral surgeons there who are members, pediatric dentists, endodontists, and you're an affiliate member, and there's a membership category for other specialists other than general dentists. And you get involved with your local organization. The big states, Texas, California, Florida, Illinois, have components, and you get involved at that level, or the constituent level. Find the local constituent where they meet and start and reach out to them. The presidents the presidents and the officers of the local constituents should be listed on the CST website under AGD of that constituent. You should be able to find them and the contact information there. If not, have them reach out to me, and I'll reach out to the folks at headquarters and get them the information.
Yeah. I also love how you commented on, and if you all would notice, I just want you all to realize that Texas was first on that list. I didn't hear North Carolina and South Carolina. Did you?
They don't have components.
Oh, yeah. Right.
We're part of a massive region.
Yeah.
They don't have components.
One of the most powerful regions.
One of the most.
Yeah.
I
might add.
19 is the most powerful.
Yeah.
Region 19 is the most powerful.
That's not true. That's not true.
It is.
That's not true.
You have the most votes.
We do have the most votes now.
Yeah, you have the most votes.
And we're not easily fooled. I'll just say that. We do our homework. We come prepared, ready to discuss the issues. And that is actually incredibly important.
Another great question. How many regions are there?
Is it 23?
20.
20?
20. 20.
He has to know.
Canada has 2. And they're 20 total. But there's only 19 trustees because Canada just gets 1 trustee, even though they have 2 regions.
Gotcha.
And I don't remember, armed forces, were they 1 region?
17.
17 is Army, Navy, Air Force, public health, civil service, and Indian Health Service Commission Corps is all region 17.
Okay, that's right. I couldn't remember. But Chad, to your question, we in Region 19, we in South Carolina, we actually had a pedodontist who was on our board. He's since passed, unfortunately, but what a tremendous leader he was.
For sure.
Yeah.
Dr. Napier.
Yeah. Rocky.
He was a huge asset.
And he was a pedodontist, and everyone would say, why do you give so much to this organization, to the Academy of General Dentistry? And he's like, general dentistry is what fuels all of the specialties. And so why would you not want to be a part of policy and of improving those relationships between the general dentist and the specialty services that are offered? And Rocky just gave so much to the AGD. And I was blessed to know him. I was blessed to get to work with him on that board. But I'll tell you, he was very well respected, and I think it was brilliant on his part to be that involved with the organization, because he had such insight with regard to what was going on in general dentistry, that he was able to help some of the general dentists who didn't know what was going on in general dentistry. and to offer a helping hand, which is another reason for them to refer to him. So he didn't do it for personal gain, but what he gained from it, I know was really valuable to him.
Well, and let's keep in mind, many of the policy stances coming out of the academy are specialty focused stances. You know, how do we feel about certain products? How do we feel about certain procedures? How do we feel about specialty relationships, et cetera? It's very advantageous to have solid representation from the different specialties as sort of local experts to say, we're thinking about doing this. Can you provide us some feedback? What would be the interpretation from the specialty groups? Would they be in support?
Mhm.
Would they not? Is it consistent amongst the profession? Like, because we don't see behind the curtain all the time. And so it is nice to have their feedback, because we're representing all facets of dentistry through the eyes and perspective of the general dentist. So it was incredibly helpful to have him as a part of the team, for sure.
Agreed.
I look forward to seeing Ryan serving very soon.
Yeah. I think, I mean, you talked about the
Welcome to the AGD,
pediatric
Ryan.
dentist.
Yeah,
Talked
I'll be
about the
sending him an
pediatric
application.
dentist being an asset. I think that this endodontist would definitely be an ass at the AGD.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely a dash somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no questioning that he would be an ass to the AGD. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
I need my button to come back that I'm beep.
yeah. So anyhow,
So when do you head to Minneapolis? When are you leaving?
So I fly to Minneapolis Tuesday, so I can be there because it officially starts on Wednesday. So but in the meantime, Saturday I fly to Chicago for a meeting there and fly back Monday. Get back home about midnight Monday, dump a suitcase, reload a suitcase so I can catch my flight Tuesday morning to Minneapolis.
Hey, Merlin, how do you feel like other organized groups? Number one, you've in your term as presidency, you end up meeting with, I think, most of the specialty groups,
Mm-hmm.
some of the DSO groups, some of the big meeting groups. Like you meet with a tremendous amount of people. And I wonder, number one, how are other organizations doing? What's the health membership growth? Like, or is everybody sort of dealing with different similar challenges or not? And then the second is, how's the relationship going between AGD and some of the other specialty groups or, whatever?
So everybody in organized dentistry is sort of holding their own. The full members are, like for us, the full dues paying members are slipping a little bit. We are increasing membership with student members, and we're rolling almost all the full dues paying when they get a chance to emeritus. So we're trying to build from the students and get them involved, and trying to have programs at each dental university to get them involved early so they stay involved and continue their membership as they progress through the profession. And as far as relationships with other organizations, we do better, as you would think, some. And a couple months ago, I went to the AAO, invited me to their annual meeting because we had some dialogue a year or so ago, and we're back on very good footing with them. And they were very receptive to me, and we're very receptive to what they're looking for their membership. Both the AGD and the AAO are very much not in favor of the do-it-yourself dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
With the aligners, and now with the mail yourself some impression putty or something, and you get a partial back the next week. they support us on our efforts against that, and we've supported them along with us for our efforts to try to shut down the do-it-yourself ortho clear aligners. And I mean, everything's a work in progress, and the thing is, we have to keep our relations up. We can't expect a specialty organization that we haven't spoken to and haven't developed a relationship with. If something happens, they take a stance on something we don't like, or we want their help with something, we can't expect them to say, "Oh yeah, we're happy to help you," when they haven't heard from us and we haven't been in touch and haven't worked together, for years upon years. So the important thing is that we have to constantly work on relationships. It's just like in the organization world, the professional organization world, is just like in your own business. You work on your relationships locally to keep the networks open with your DINK enterprise. You're always working on relationships with people, because you have to build those before you have a want and an ask. You have to have a good relationship built, and that's really what I'm trying to focus in on with these other groups, is that we have a working relationship and we can provide support when it meets our guidelines and our needs, and try to work together. And when it doesn't, we say, that doesn't fit our bylaws, the rules that set before us, through our house policy. So.
Well, join us next week when we bring on the veneer techs. We're going to bring them on. We're going to certify people actually virtually.
Oh, that's right. That is the next thing, the veneer techs.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
So hopefully these are no prep veneers, huh? They're not grinding on teeth, are they?
I have
really
no
don't
idea,
know.
but I'm telling you what, I'm all in.
I haven't taken the course yet. I'll let you know. I actually submitted those for mastership credit, but they haven't processed yet.
You can use them for your LLSR, Jen.
There you go.
I love it. Well, Merlin, thank you so much for being with us. I know it's a busy week for you, lots going on, and sorry I can't be with you, but we wish you a great meeting. I know it'll be a terrific meeting, and we just want to, on behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you for taking the time to speak with us. It's always great to see you.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thanks for the opportunity. And you guys gave me an idea for when I retire. When I'm not doing this next year, I'm going to start smuggling dental floss into Colorado.
There you go.
PFA lace. PFA lace.
That's a great call. Most importantly, thank you for serving in that capacity. We know how many hours that takes. Actually, we don't firsthand know how many hours that takes. I just know what I've seen.
We could piecemeal our own hours together and get a rough idea.
And get a rough idea.
Yeah.
So thank you again, and good luck with the meeting. And
thank
Chad,
you.
why don't you close us out?
Partha, you better come see me at the AGD meeting. I see you there.
Yeah. So Partha, thank you for being here. Ryan, thank you for asking how you can become involved. But I think that's a great way to segue into our close, is that Merlin, I want to thank you for taking the step, becoming the leader, and becoming as involved as you have been the past several years with the AGD. I received an award from the AGD 25 years ago when I graduated from dental school, and that really started my journey with the AGD. I've been a member ever since. But, when we think about, organized dentistry, it's a lot like having a favorite team in football, soccer, baseball, or whatever. Unfortunately, with those teams, we can always just be an armchair quarterback. We can bitch as much as we want, but we're never going to get anything done. With the AGD or with the ADA even, it's very different, because we're all invited to serve. We all have a voice. There's a lot that's stacking up against us, and we can complain as much as we want, but until we take that step and we become involved, we're never going to get anything done. So I encourage everybody to, at the very least, be a member of the AGD. Secondly, if you want to complain, then let your voice be heard and become involved. And that's the only way to have it heard. We all have that opportunity. We all have that choice. So don't complain unless you want to serve. So thank you so much for serving for all of us, Merlin. Thank you for fighting the battles for every single one of us. And I hope that everybody has a great evening and supports the education and the fellowship that's offered through the AGD. Thank y'all.
Thanks.
And that wraps up another podcast for Dentists in the Know. On behalf of Dr. Jennifer Bell, Dr. Chad Duplantis, and myself, remember that we've got a great profession, so let's make it a great day, Dinks.